What's up guys, Ivan Carranza here, and today we're gonna cover 5 tips that are gonna help you come up with your own bass lines. These are by no means rules or concepts that are, set in stone, not at all. These are meant to work as tools that you can take out of your toolbox when you need to come up with ideas on the spot. For example, when you're recording for someone else, or when you're with your own band and you need a bass line, when you're writing your own songs, for example. And these are ideas and concepts that have helped me in the past, and that's why I want to share it with you. So let's get on with it and stay tuned. So tip number 1 would be to play for the song. And what do I mean by that? Maybe you've got massive chops, you can shred like a monster. That doesn't mean that you have to do it every time. Sometimes the song just requires you to play for example, if that's what the song needs, that's the best thing you can do. And the art in making bass lines is to be able to listen to the material and finding what's gonna support the whole band, what's gonna bring the other people and make them sound better. So don't let the ego get in the way, and like I mentioned, if you have to play whole notes the whole time to make everyone sound better, then that's the right thing to do. Tip number 2 would be to play what's in your head. And by that I mean that, for example, if somebody plays a chord sequence or a drum beat, whatever, and you're trying to figure out what to play, sometimes or most of the time actually, the most musical solution or most musical idea is what comes naturally from within you, not with the instrument in your hand. Tip number 3 would be to follow the kick drum pattern. And as an example, let's say the kick drum is doing chuck, 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 come, 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 come. So I would be like, and just sticking to that, it's gonna work. And from there you can start adding more notes if needed, of course, to spice it up. And as the song progresses, you can also start adding more components or more rhythmic elements. But main thing is to lock in with the kick drum like one-on-one. Tip number 4 would be to make it a statement. Make your bass line a statement. And that's something I struggled with in the past, and I see young bass players doing the same, and I don't blame them, because I was there too, and it was thanks to my teachers for the last couple of years, Marius Goldhammer and Thorsten Hayes, that my playing improved tremendously, especially in that department, because repetition makes something pretty solid, pretty stable, and it's a way to present your ideas not only to the rest of the band, but for the audience as well. So if something kind of repeats or has a structure, then it's easier to build upon that. Nothing against like people, for example, James Jamerson, that his bass lines move a lot, pretty busy. But if you look at them, you can still recognize some sort of pattern in there. But if you want a solid, simple bass line that's definitely gonna work, I would recommend trying something and repeating the idea. And as an example, I'm gonna give you this. So you can sing that, it's something that sticks in your head. So it's not like that's not so bassliney, I would say. It's more like, you know, letting loose and unleashing Armageddon. If you want to make it clear what your intent is make something repetitive that has some sort of structure, and most of the time, like, I don't know, 95% of the time it's gonna work, and you can always add more stuff to that, you know, you can always play more. But usually when you overplay, people look at you and are like, dude, you're playing like way too busy. And the other way around, people are like, hey, that's pretty cool, just put some more into it. And that's, you know, the reaction is definitely going to be more positive that way. So tip number 5 would be to make a concept and use that as a baseline. And by that I mean, for example, let's take the idea of Jaco Pastorius' Come On, Come Over, and the chorus, right? So you go... like that. And that's in D7 kind of. And somebody comes to me and says, yeah, I would like to play you that kind of vibe, but you know, it's in a minor chord. And if I don't know how the relationship of the intervals to a root note work, or I haven't analyzed that bass line, I'm gonna be on the spot and I'm gonna be, oh my god, I have no idea. But because I know how it works, so we're going root note, 5th, minor 7th, major 6th, the same, then you go the 5th below, major 6, passing note, or the 3rd of A major, you want to put a dominant chord in there, to the root, and then you go dramatically from the 3rd to the 5th to resolve back to the 1. And by knowing that, I can morph the idea into a minor tonality. So it would sound kind of like... you know, and that I can do that because I know the relationship of the intervals, and I can translate them to something else. I could even play that in different keys, and by, you know, analyzing bass lines as well, you learn where things sound best within your instrument, because there's lines that you can't play down here and you have to find a way to play them here, for example, even though you could play them on a higher string, but that kind of sounds thin. So I would highly recommend you to analyze bass lines and look for concept of how they are built. And just to throw a couple of more examples, let's say I've got D minor and A minor. So my concept is like this, for example. What am I doing there? I'm approaching the root note chromatically from the minor 7th, and then I'm playing the minor 3rd. And the same for the 5th, which is A minor. And you know, by repeating that, it kind of ties up to the previous point, which was, you know, to make it a statement. So it's a solid idea that you can build more stuff upon that. And like I mentioned, these are concepts that have helped me, and still do to this day, to come up with ideas fast on the spot. And I can go more in depth in the future videos, because I'm going to be putting out more content more frequently now, hopefully, if I stick to my plan. But stay tuned for more. I hope this has helped you, and let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. So I was just editing the video, and I noticed that I wasn't that clear on point number 2, so I'm just going to do a quick recap of the whole thing to clear things up. Point number 1 was play for the song. Listen to the material and try to think about what can you bring to the table that's going to make the whole picture sound better, not just yourself. Point number 2, and that's what I want to correct, was to play what's in your head. So if you're listening to the material given, or you're in a jam session or whatever, and you don't know what to play, and you're trying to find out on your instrument, try to sing what you have in your head and then reproduce that on your instrument, because that's like a direct connection from your mind, from your inner musicality to, you know, the outer world that you put out throughout your instrument. Point number 3 was to play with the kick drum. That's pretty self-explanatory. Point number 4 was to make it a statement. And that's just, repetition makes something solid and understandable. So try to find a structure within a bass line. Point number 5 was to make a concept for your bass lines. So in order to do that, it's pretty useful to know your intervals and how the relationship within notes and a chord and, in a tonality relate to each other. And then you can analyze different kinds of bass lines and make concepts out of that. For example, are you playing like root octaves, or you're starting on the 5th, you're not starting on the 1, or root 3rd, that kind of thing. Just as an example, I would like, just to throw out, what kind of concept can you build out of Come Together by the Beatles, or Brick House, Try to make concepts for yourself that you can then apply, because that's going to give you tools that you're going to be able to, grab on the spot and not have to think about way too much about something that might work. And that's about it. Hope you find these tips helpful. I'll see you in the next one.